The story of the Cleveland Browns' quarterback room this season is not just another chapter in the franchise's long, turbulent history. It's the moment everything changed. What began as a routine training camp, with the usual rotation, scripted reps, and carefully managed competition, quickly spiraled into something far more dramatic, emotional, and defining. At the center of it all stood two quarterbacks whose careers couldn't be more different. Dillon Gabriel, the polished veteran with the system mastery and coaching staff trust, and Shedeur Sanders, the electrifying rookie whose potential was obvious, but whose readiness was constantly doubted. This wasn't supposed to be a battle. Not at first. The plan was simple. Dillon would steady the ship. Shedeur would grow quietly in the background. Everyone would stay in their roles. But football has a way of exposing truths that no depth chart, no press conference, and no preseason script can contain. It exposes who thrives under pressure and who cracks. It exposes who commands the room when things break down. And it exposes who has the fire to elevate their team when everything seems stacked against them. The turning point wasn't a game. It wasn't a highlight throw. It wasn't even a bad day at practice. It was the accumulation of whispers, tensions, and rising expectations. It was the growing belief inside the locker room that the rookie wasn't just talented, he was inevitable. His presence changed the tempo of practice. His accountability changed the way players responded. His confidence, even after mistakes, changed the atmosphere of the quarterback room. But none of that made the competition any easier. In fact, it made it 10 times more intense. Dillon Gabriel fought to maintain his position, knowing full well that a quarterback battle is never just about arm strength or accuracy. It's about narrative. It's about perception. It's about who the locker room wants to follow, who the media believes in, and who the coaching staff trusts to carry the weight of an NFL franchise. And in that sense, the battle between Dillon and Shedeur became symbolic. A clash between stability and explosive potential, between what the Browns have always been and what they desperately hope to become. Every practice rep became a statement. Every meeting room debate carried tension. Every reporter's tweet poured gasoline on the fire. If you're enjoying this video and loving the content, don't forget to give us a big thumbs up. It really helps us know what you want to see more of. And why keep all the excitement to yourself? Share this video with your friends, family, or anyone who loves NFL drama. And in the midst of that pressure cooker, Shedeur Sanders began to reveal something that no scouting report had captured. Not just talent, trajectory. Not just confidence, gravity. He wasn't merely competing, he was transforming the entire pulse of the Browns' offense. This introduction isn't just the beginning of a story. It's the beginning of a shift. A shift in leadership. A shift in culture. A shift in what the Cleveland Browns believe is possible at the quarterback position. This is the story of how a rookie with everything to prove and a veteran with everything to lose found themselves locked in a battle that would define the future of the franchise. And it all starts here. No one inside the Browns facility woke up that morning expecting history to lurch in a new direction. There were no warning signs, no cryptic quotes from coaches, no dramatic leaks from insiders. It was supposed to be a routine practice, another controlled, predictable summer session meant to sharpen timing, build chemistry, and shape the depth chart. Yet behind the gated practice fields in Berea, something was quietly brewing. A collision of ego, ambition, pressure, and timing that would erupt into the most unexpected storyline of the offseason. It all started long before the cameras caught the moment. The Browns had entered training camp with an unusual quarterback room. Shedeur Sanders, the rising rookie with superstar energy and massive expectations, and Dillon Gabriel, the polished, battle-tested competitor with his own chip on his shoulder. Both men came in knowing the stakes. Both came in knowing that the slightest misstep could swing the narrative. But what no one anticipated was how quickly the temperature would jump from warm competition to full-on chaos. The coaching staff believed they had time. They thought they could manage the personalities, stagger the reps, keep everything balanced and drama-free. Instead, the stage was accidentally set for conflict. It began with a subtle tweak in the practice script, a change that seemed harmless on paper but instantly shifted the energy on the field. For the first time in camp, the rookie would get the first set of reps with the primary unit. It was meant to be an evaluation, a standard rotational adjustment. But to the players watching, it meant something more. It signaled momentum. It suggested trust. And for Dylan Gabriel, it raised a silent question. Was he already slipping behind? Shedeur didn't ask for special treatment, but he carried himself like someone who expected to earn it. Teammates describe him as confident, maybe too confident at times, but undeniably magnetic. When he jogged onto the field with the starters, heads turned. When he barked out the cadence, you could feel the intensity spike. The defense seemed to play faster. The sidelines leaned in. Even the staff members holding clipboards suddenly looked more alert. It felt like the beginning of something. But the setup wasn't just about reps. It was about perception. It was about timing. Earlier that week, a clip of Shedeur talking about getting big ready had gone viral, amplifying every practice snap into a national storyline. Reporters were already framing him as the future. Fans were already debating his ceiling. And Gabriel, despite doing everything right, suddenly felt like the forgotten man. Pressure has a funny way of shaping moments, and this one was the perfect storm. By midday, the rotational adjustment had snowballed into a full-blown emotional battleground. Players sensed it. Coaches sensed it. And as the practice moved toward its most competitive period, red zone drills, the energy shifted from competitive to combustible. This wasn't just another day at camp. The table had been set, and everyone felt it. This was the setup nobody saw coming, the spark before the eruption. Halftime at an NFL practice isn't really halftime. There's no marching band, no locker room speeches, no TV breaks. It's usually just a quick reset, hydration, coaching adjustments, maybe a quiet conversation or two. But on this day in this practice, that midpoint break became the moment everything flipped. By the time players jogged to the sidelines and the horn sounded, the tension from the morning session had already seeped into the grass. But what happened during that brief pause sent the entire team into a stunned silence. The energy leading up to the break had been electric, bordering on uncomfortable. Shedeur Sanders had delivered a series of laser throws that looked effortless. Dylan Gabriel had countered with grit, precision, and a stubborn refusal to be overshadowed. The competitive fire was obvious but manageable. Coaches believed they could still keep both quarterbacks on track. They thought the first half was heated but healthy. Then came the moment that blindsided everyone. During the break, instead of heading directly to the quarterback's area, Shedeur veered off toward the coaching huddle. Several players noticed it immediately. He wasn't invited in. Yet there he was, stepping right into the circle, speaking fast, animated, pointing back toward the field. No one could hear the exact words, but the volume alone made it clear. He was demanding something. More reps, more tempo, more responsibility, or maybe it was frustration boiling over from feeling challenged. Whatever it was, the message was unmistakable. Shedeur believed he needed to be the one leading, not sharing. But that wasn't the shock. The shock came when Kevin Stefanski, usually the calmest presence in any NFL building, pushed back. For months, Stefanski had been careful with the rookie, supportive but structured. He liked Shedeur. He trusted his talent. But he also believed in the system. And he believed in Dylan Gabriel, who had done nothing to deserve being cast aside. So when Shedeur pressed too hard, Stefanski snapped in a way players rarely see. He wasn't explosive. He wasn't unhinged. He was firm, sharp, and unmistakably frustrated. The kind of frustration that comes from trying to prevent a wildfire from catching spark. Players close enough to see it exchanged looks. Linebackers stopped mid-conversation. Receivers froze with their helmets in hand. A momentary silence hung over the field as Stefanski ended the discussion abruptly and gestured for both quarterbacks to follow him. That's when the real whisper storm began. Some players interpreted Stefanski's tone as a warning to Shedeur, a message to respect the process. Others saw it as a sign that the coaching staff was losing control of the room. The veterans just shook their heads, knowing this was the type of moment that could fracture a team or forge one. Meanwhile, Dylan Gabriel stood back, helmet tucked under his arm, watching everything unfold. He didn't say a word. He didn't need to. His expression said enough. He wasn't angry, but he wasn't oblivious. He knew what he had just witnessed, the rookie pushing the envelope, and the coach pushing back hard. As the horn blew to begin the second half of practice, everyone jogged back onto the field with one shared thought. Something had shifted. The temperature hadn't just risen, it had detonated. The breakthrough moments in practice were impressive, but what happened afterward, quietly, away from the cameras and noise, became the turning point that nobody outside the facility even knew existed. It wasn't a highlight play. It wasn't a speech. It wasn't something designed for social media. It was a promise. One Shedeur Sanders made when the day felt heavier than it should have, and one that shifted the entire direction of the quarterback room. Practice had officially ended. Helmets were off, trainers were stretching players out, and the field was slowly emptying. Most rookies in Shedeur's position would have left with their emotions still simmering. After a day filled with tension, pressure, misreads, and viral headlines, anyone would have been tempted to shut down and reset tomorrow. But that's not what Shedeur did. Instead, he walked straight toward the offensive huddle, toward the veterans who had watched every moment, good and bad, toward the linemen who protected him, toward the receivers who ran routes for him all session long, toward Dillon Gabriel, too, who had his own steady performance overshadowed by the noise. And in front of all of them, he made a promise. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It wasn't ego-driven. It was real, raw, and direct, spoken in a tone that didn't sound like a rookie trying to prove himself. It sounded like a quarterback claiming responsibility for what came next. "I'm not giving you chaos," he said. "I'm giving you everything I've got, every rep, every day, no excuses." It was the kind of line that could have sounded corny from anyone else. But after the roller coaster practice they had just survived, after the heated exchange with Stefanski, after the media narrative spun wildly out of control, those words landed differently. They didn't sound like damage control. They sounded like conviction. And that's when the shift happened.
If you enjoyed today's breakdown and want to keep up with all the drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes action in the NFL, then don't forget to hit that like button.
One of the veteran linemen, someone known for speaking only when absolutely necessary, looked him dead in the eye and responded with 5 words that changed the tone of the entire quarterback competition. "Then we've got your back." Simple, steady, but packed with meaning. Those words weren't a vote against Dillon. They weren't a declaration that Shedeur had won anything. They were a sign that the locker room, for the first time all offseason, felt united behind something real. The promise created clarity, clarity the organization failed to give him, clarity the media couldn't capture, clarity that had been missing since the day he walked into the building. And the impact didn't stop there. Dillon Gabriel, instead of feeling overshadowed, stepped forward and gave Shedeur a subtle nod. He had no reason to be bitter. He respected competition. He respected maturity. And he respected accountability when he saw it. The moment didn't divide the room, it strengthened it. Even Stefanski, watching from a distance, seemed to realize what the rookie had just done. Shedeur wasn't trying to win the job with talent alone. He was trying to win the trust of the room. And that, more than arm strength, footwork, or highlight clips, is what makes a quarterback worth building around. That promise didn't erase the pressure. It didn't silence critics. It didn't change the headlines waiting to drop the next morning. But it changed something more important. The way his teammates looked at him. The way the competition felt. The way the team believed the future could unfold. And from that moment on, everyone knew, whether Shedeur won the starting job or not, this wasn't the same rookie who walked onto the field that morning. He had stepped forward. He had claimed ownership. And in doing so, he had changed everything. The Cleveland Browns quarterback room has never been short on talent, controversy, or pressure. But after everything that unfolded in camp, in practice, and behind the scenes, the conversation around this team is no longer just about who should start. It's about what kind of quarterback the franchise wants to build its identity around. For the first time in a long time, the debate isn't just performance-based. It's philosophical. It's cultural. It's about leadership, accountability, and trajectory. And after watching Shedeur Sanders navigate adversity, tension, preparation issues, internal politics, and public scrutiny, the future suddenly looks more complicated and more promising than anyone expected. The narrative used to be simple. Dillon Gabriel was the safe, experienced choice, the steady hand who had earned the coaching staff's trust. Shedeur was the future, the high-upside developmental project who needed time. But what happens when the future refuses to sit quietly in the corner and wait? What happens when the rookie understands the room better than the veteran? What happens when he steps into the storm without warning, takes responsibility for the chaos, and still walks out with the respect of the locker room? That's the part the media never shows you. They show stats, they show highlight clips, they show sideline reactions and press conference quotes, but they don't show the way the offensive line leans in when Shedeur speaks. They don't show how receivers run routes sharper when he's under center. They don't show the way the coaching staff pauses when reviewing the film, not because the rookie is perfect, but because he sees the field in a way you can't teach. And that's the real future of this quarterback room. Not a controversy, not a feud, not a split locker room, but a transformation. Because whether Dillon Gabriel keeps the job another week, another month, or even the start of the season, everyone in that building knows what's coming. They felt it during the heated practice. They heard it in Shedeur's voice after the rough performance. They saw it when he made the promise that changed the tone of the entire offense. Quarterbacks can be gifted. Quarterbacks can be athletic. Quarterbacks can even survive without perfect preparation. But quarterbacks who command a room, who take blame they don't deserve, who elevate the tempo of practice, who make veterans believe something new is possible, those quarterbacks become the face of a franchise. And that's why the Browns' future is no longer just about who plays next Sunday. It's about who reshapes the identity of a team that's been searching for stability for years. The pieces are in place. The support is growing. And the weight of expectation is shifting toward the rookie who wasn't even supposed to take a snap yet. The Cleveland Browns don't just have a quarterback battle, they have a quarterback evolution. Dillon Gabriel gives them structure. Shedeur Sanders gives them hope. One provides a floor. The other provides a ceiling. And in the NFL, sooner or later, every franchise has to choose. Not between comfort and chaos, but between who they are and who they could become. The future of the Browns' QB room isn't uncertain. It's inevitable. And that future's name is Shedeur Sanders.
If you enjoyed today's breakdown and want to keep up with all the drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes action in the NFL, then don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps this channel grow and lets us know you love this kind of content. And hey, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with your friends, your group chats, or anyone who loves football as much as you do. The more the conversation spreads, the better it gets. Most importantly, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss when we drop fresh stories, wild rumors, or breaking updates that the mainstream media won't talk about.